So one morning this week, I woke to the sound of birdsong. I looked out the window and there was a cardinal perched on a branch looking straight back at me, singing. And just beyond it, two rabbits moved quickly across the yard, disappearing into the thicket. A bluebird went about her work, building her nest, carrying one small piece of straw at a time. And I found myself standing there at the window longer than I expected, not because it was particularly extraordinary, but because it felt so fitting, as if the world itself was already awake to something before I even had my coffee, as if creation had gotten to Easter first, already moving, already alive, already beginning again. I think perhaps I was surprised because so often we come here expecting something, don't we? We come expecting Easter to begin here in this room, in the music, the prayers, the proclamation. We come expecting that we will sing Jesus Christ is risen today, hear the story again, and leave reminded that something important took place long ago. And all of that is true, and it is good. But what I was reminded of that morning is that Easter does not begin here, and it does not end here either. Easter is not something we contain for an hour inside these walls. It is not a single moment or even just a single day. Easter is something that has been set loose in the world, something that moves and grows and refuses to stay buried, because this is not the first morning like this. On another morning, while it was still dark, Mary stood outside the tomb weeping. She had come expecting death, to tend to what was over, to do the quiet, faithful work that follows loss. She came to a place she thought she understood, a place that made sense in the way that grief sometimes does, final, settled, and closed. But when she arrived, the stone had already been rolled away. The place she thought she knew no longer made sense. The world as she knew it had shifted. And yet she stayed. She did not turn away. She remained in that place of confusion and grief long enough to notice, long enough to hear her name spoken. And in that moment, she recognized him. And that is where Easter begins, not in certainty, but in encounter, not in explanation, but in the moment when everything we thought was final is cracked open again. Because this is what we are here to proclaim, not simply that something beautiful happened long ago, not simply that hope is possible, but that God has raised Jesus Christ from the dead. And in doing so, God has declared that death does not get the final word, that love is stronger than death, that life is stronger than loss. And this changes everything. It means that the places in our lives that feel closed off, finished, beyond repair, they are not as final as they seem. It means that the grief we carry when someone we love is gone, the quiet exhaustion of holding too much for too long, the moments when we look at the world and cannot imagine how things could possibly be made right, none of those get to define the ending of our story. It means that even when we cannot see a way forward, there is one still there. Easter does not deny that these things, these painful things, are real, but it does say this: they are not ultimate, because something has happened, something we did not create, something we cannot control, something God alone has done. Life has broken through, and once that happens, the world is never the same again. Which means that when we begin to notice signs of life, when we see beauty or kindness or something unexpectedly whole, those are not just nice moments. They are signs of something deeper that is already true. It is there in the small, stubborn signs of life that keep appearing where we did not expect them. In the buds pushing up through the cold ground. In the laughter that comes unexpectedly in the middle of grief. In forgiveness offered when it would be easier to hold on to anger. In people refusing to give up on what is right, even when it costs something. These are not accidents. They are what it looks like when the life God raised in Jesus begins to take hold in the world again. And that means this: the resurrection is not behind us. It is not contained in a story we remember. It is happening in this world, in our lives, right now. And that is a big claim to make, a big hope to hold. But friends, we do not hold it alone, because part of what it means to be Easter people is that we carry this hope together. When one of us cannot see it, another can. When one of us is overwhelmed, another holds on. When one of us forgets what is true, another speaks it again. And when we begin to live as Easter people, we see it take shape in the world around us, in the ways we show up for one another, in the ways we choose to stay, in the ways we keep loving even when it is so hard. And because of that, something becomes possible again. Not just a vague hope for the future, but the mending of what we thought was broken, the return of love where we thought it was lost. The quiet, stubborn rising of life in places we had given up on. A future we could not yet see, already beginning again. So if you find yourself this morning wondering where to begin here. Christ is risen, and life is already breaking through in this world, in our lives, even now, especially now. So go out into the world paying attention to what is already stirring, holding on to hope, and trusting that what God has begun is still unfolding among us. Alleluia, Christ is risen.